In 19th century America, the very fabric of the nation was stretched thin by a brutal and unforgiving system. Millions of African Americans lived under the harsh reality of slavery, their lives bound by chains, forced labor, and a constant struggle for survival. Families were torn apart, children were separated from parents, and the simple act of seeking freedom could cost a person their life. Across the southern states, plantations and farms stood as grim reminders of a society built on oppression, where human worth was measured by ownership and profit rather than dignity or justice. Yet, amid this darkness, sparks of hope began to flicker. In the North, abolitionist movements were gaining momentum, fueled by voices that demanded liberty and equality. People from different walks of life free black citizens, sympathetic whites, religious groups, and everyday men and women recognized the injustice and took action. They formed secret networks, safe houses, and covert routes designed to help those enslaved escape to freedom. This clandestine system became known as the Underground Railroad, an intricate web of courage, strategy, and unwavering moral conviction. The journey along the Underground Railroad was perilous. Those seeking freedom faced harsh conditions, unpredictable weather, treacherous terrain, and the ever-present threat of capture. Yet, they pressed forward, guided by the North Star, whispered instructions, and the unshakable hope of a life beyond chains. Every safe house they reached, every kind stranger who risked their own safety to help them, represented a small victory against a system determined to suppress their humanity. Among the heroes of this hidden network was Harriet Tubman, often called the Moses of her people. She escaped the clutches of slavery herself but refused to stay in freedom while others remained in bondage. Time and again, she returned to the South, leading dozens to safety and defying the enormous risks that accompanied each journey. Her courage was emblematic of the countless, often nameless, individuals who operated in shadows, driven not by fame or reward, but by a profound sense of justice and empathy. This story is not only about the trials faced by those escaping slavery, but also about the resilience, creativity, and bravery of those who helped them. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, ordinary people can make extraordinary differences. The Underground Railroad was more than a network of routes and safe houses. It was a symbol of hope, human solidarity, and the unyielding quest for freedom. As we dive deeper into this journey of courage and humanity, I invite you to join me in exploring the hidden heroes whose bravery shaped history. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the incredible stories of resilience, courage, and the fight for freedom that continue to inspire us today. Together, let us honor their legacy and keep their stories alive for generations to come. Out of desperation and hope, a clandestine system emerged, one that would come to be known as the Underground Railroad, weaving together a network of safe houses, secret routes, and courageous individuals committed to guiding those enslaved toward freedom in the North and ultimately to the safety of Canada. It was a system built not of rails or timetables, but of human trust, intuition, and the unwavering belief that freedom was worth every risk for those fleeing bondage. Every night under the cover of darkness carried both terror and possibility, and every home that opened its doors without hesitation became a beacon of hope in a world defined by fear and oppression. The Underground Railroad was as much a moral undertaking as it was a physical journey, demanding ingenuity, bravery, and a willingness to challenge the rules of a society structured to suppress humanity. Within this secretive network, coded messages were embedded in songs, quilts, and whispered instructions, turning ordinary objects into lifelines. Follow the drinking gourd, a spiritual song, served as a celestial map, guiding fugitives toward the North Star, whose unwavering light symbolized both direction and deliverance. In barns and attics, fugitives would hide, hearts pounding, ears straining for any sign of danger, while the faint glow of lanterns signaled a place of safety nearby. Every conductor, whether a free black person, a Quaker farmer, or a sympathetic neighbor, acted as both guide and guardian, navigating the intricate labyrinth of routes with precision and care, fully aware that one misstep could mean capture, punishment, or death. The courage required to participate in this network extended beyond those escaping slavery. Each conductor risked imprisonment, violent reprisal, and social ostracism, yet they persisted, driven by conscience and a commitment to justice that transcended personal safety. Some operated openly under the guise of ordinary labor, while others conducted their work entirely in secrecy, relying on intuition, signals, and the word of trusted allies. Safe houses became sanctuaries where fugitives could rest, replenish their strength, and prepare for the next leg of a journey that often spanned hundreds of miles. Through forests, rivers, and harsh winter landscapes, all while remaining one step ahead of those determined to maintain the chains of oppression. Stories of escape were as diverse as the routes themselves. Some fugitives traveled alone, guided by a combination of courage, intuition, and the faint light of the night sky, while others moved in small groups, relying on mutual support to sustain morale and ensure survival. Along the way, ordinary acts of kindness, food shared quietly at a back door, directions whispered from behind closed curtains, or a hidden attic to shelter exhausted travelers became monumental in their impact, offering life and hope when the world outside seemed relentlessly cruel. Each successful journey was a testament not only to the determination of the enslaved but also to the ingenuity, compassion, and resourcefulness of those who chose to aid them. Among the most celebrated figures of this network was Harriet Tubman, whose life embodied the principles and risks of the Underground Railroad. She navigated countless journeys through hostile territories, returning repeatedly to the South to guide others to freedom. Yet the story of the Underground Railroad was not hers alone. It was composed of the efforts of countless unnamed heroes, each playing a vital role in a system sustained by trust, courage, and unwavering moral conviction. These individuals, often invisible in mainstream histories, formed a tapestry of resistance that challenged not only the laws of the land, but also the social norms that condoned inequality and oppression. The Underground Railroad was also a story of ingenuity and adaptation, as routes evolved to respond to new threats and changing circumstances. Conductors memorized complex paths through forests, over rivers, and across towns where danger could emerge from any direction. Signals shifted with the seasons, with quilts hung in certain patterns or lanterns placed in strategic windows, ensuring that travelers could navigate an ever-changing landscape with precision and safety. The network's success depended on the collective intelligence of its participants, a constant negotiation between secrecy and communication, courage and caution, hope and fear. It transformed ordinary homes and communities into nodes of resistance, proving that even in the face of overwhelming injustice, organized, persistent, and compassionate action could carve out spaces of freedom and dignity. The moral significance of the Underground Railroad extended far beyond its practical purpose. It demonstrated that the pursuit of justice often requires defiance, creativity, and collaboration, and that ordinary individuals are capable of extraordinary courage when confronted with systemic wrongdoing. Each person who escaped slavery, each conductor who risked everything to help another human being, became part of a living testament to resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring power of hope. The network itself, though invisible on any map, left an indelible mark on history, challenging assumptions about power, freedom, and the potential for human solidarity to overcome oppression. As these stories unfolded, they revealed not only the harsh realities of a nation divided by slavery, but also the profound capacity for compassion, courage, and moral action in the face of fear. The Underground Railroad, in all its secrecy and complexity, stands as a reminder that freedom is often secured not merely through laws or decrees, but through the bravery and selflessness of individuals willing to act when it matters most. Its legacy is a testament to the enduring human spirit, a story of darkness pierced by light, danger met with ingenuity, and oppression met with unwavering determination to claim what is justly every person's right: the freedom to live with dignity and hope. Born into the harsh realities of slavery, Harriet Tubman knew from an early age what it meant to live under the unrelenting weight of oppression, where every day was a struggle for survival and every decision carried consequences that could end in pain or death. From the moment she first tasted freedom by escaping her enslaved condition, Tubman recognized that her own liberation was only the beginning of a much larger journey, one that demanded courage, cunning, and an unwavering commitment to justice. Unlike many who might have fled and sought only the safety of the North, she felt a profound responsibility to those left behind, understanding that freedom was not merely a personal gift but a cause that could be shared and fought for, even at the risk of her own life. Her return to the South was not a simple matter of retracing familiar paths. It was a perilous expedition into territories thick with danger, where the threat of capture loomed at every turn. Slave catchers, patrols, and informants were constant presences, ever ready to exploit the smallest misstep. Yet, Tubman's courage was matched by an extraordinary strategic mind. She memorized intricate routes through forests, rivers, and swamps, timing her journeys to coincide with the cover of night and the natural rhythms of the seasons, all while teaching those who followed her how to move silently and wisely, to trust in intuition, and to read the subtle signs of nature for guidance. Every journey she undertook was a delicate balance of planning, improvisation, and sheer bravery, a dance with danger that required both physical stamina and mental acuity. Tubman's impact went far beyond the logistics of escape. She inspired those she led with a presence that radiated both authority and compassion. Her travelers often spoke of her calm confidence and resolute determination, qualities that transformed fear into courage and despair into hope. Over time, she guided more than 70 enslaved men, women, and children to freedom, each success reinforcing the moral truth she carried within her, that no law or chain could diminish the fundamental human right to liberty, and that it was possible to defy a system built to enforce submission. Her repeated returns to rescue others, despite the ever-present threat of retribution, became legendary, earning her the nickname Moses among those who looked to her as a guiding light through darkness. Yet Tubman's story was not solely about the numbers she freed or the meticulous planning she undertook. It was a testament to the broader network of the Underground Railroad, to the countless individuals who, often anonymously, provided sanctuary, guidance, and support along the way. Each household that welcomed fugitives, every friend who shared knowledge or resources, every secret signal carefully placed to direct travelers safely, reinforced the idea that collective courage and moral conviction could overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression. Tubman understood this implicitly, knowing that her mission's success relied not just on her own bravery, but on the interconnected web of humanity committed to justice and freedom. Her journeys were also imbued with spiritual significance, as Tubman often described relying on visions, dreams, and a profound sense of divine guidance to navigate dangers that might have otherwise seemed insurmountable. This faith, intertwined with her practical knowledge and unshakable determination, served as a source of strength not only for herself but for those who followed her, instilling a belief that freedom was attainable and that courage could overcome fear. In the darkest hours, when exhaustion and uncertainty threatened to overwhelm both conductor and fugitive. Her presence and unwavering resolve provided the anchor that allowed hope to endure, creating a ripple effect that transformed the lives of countless individuals. The legacy of Tubman's actions extends far beyond the immediate rescue she orchestrated. By returning time and again to face the dangers of the South, she challenged the prevailing notions of power and obedience, demonstrating that resistance, intelligence, and moral conviction could disrupt even the most formidable systems. She became a symbol not only of courage and defiance but also of the profound impact one determined individual can have when their actions are rooted in empathy and justice. Her life reminds us that true leadership often involves selflessness, that heroism is measured not by personal gain but by the lives one touches and the hope one fosters in others, and that freedom is both a personal and collective endeavor. As Harriet Tubman navigated the labyrinthine routes of the Underground Railroad, she exemplified the interconnection of individual bravery and communal effort, illustrating how one person's determination can illuminate a path for many. Her story serves as a bridge linking the perilous journeys of enslaved individuals with the broader struggle for liberty, highlighting the intricate dance of secrecy, courage, and moral conviction that defined the Underground Railroad. In celebrating her life and actions, we honor not only her remarkable courage, but also the countless unsung heroes whose names may never appear in history books, yet whose sacrifices and bravery ensured that freedom was not a distant dream, but a tangible reality for those brave enough to pursue it. Throughout the perilous journey of the Underground Railroad, the courage and ingenuity of Harriet Tubman were mirrored and magnified by countless allies who risked everything to provide sanctuary and guidance for those fleeing the bonds of slavery. These individuals came from diverse backgrounds, encompassing both white and black communities, and each brought unique skills and resources to the network, creating a tapestry of resistance that spanned towns, villages, and remote countryside alike. Quaker farmers, guided by the principles of faith and nonviolence, opened their homes and barns to strangers, often placing themselves in grave danger as slave catchers patrolled the roads and bounty hunters offered rewards for the capture of fugitives. Ministers, abolitionists, and ordinary citizens alike concealed those seeking freedom in attics, basements, and hidden compartments, sometimes providing food, clothing, and medical care, and always offering the reassurance that hope still existed beyond the oppressive confines of enslavement. Communication within this clandestine network demanded remarkable creativity and subtlety, as any overt attempt to organize or assist fugitives could result in immediate reprisal. Coded songs became a lifeline, melodies that carried messages through seemingly innocent lyrics, instructing travelers on when and where to move and signaling safe paths along their journey northward. Follow the Drinking Gourd was more than a song. It was a celestial map, a guide to the North Star and the freedom it represented. And its notes resonated with both encouragement and practical instruction. Lanterns, carefully positioned in windows or on fence posts, provided visual cues that could be recognized only by those who knew the code, a silent language that transformed ordinary objects into instruments of liberation. Even the careful recitation of Bible verses could serve as a signal, disguised within the rituals of everyday worship, yet brimming with meaning for those attuned to the hidden patterns of communication. The bravery of these allies was inseparable from their unwavering commitment to moral principle. Each act of assistance, however small, was a defiance of a system designed to enforce submission and perpetuate suffering. They understood that their participation required vigilance, foresight, and sometimes the suppression of ordinary human instincts for safety and self-preservation, choosing instead to place trust in strangers guided by desperation and hope. In barns hidden behind dense foliage, fugitives would find themselves surrounded by warmth, light, and quiet protection, while the sound of wind, the whisper of leaves, or the distant rumble of a patrol reminded them that danger was never far away. The atmosphere in these safe havens was a delicate balance of relief and tension, where each moment of respite came with the knowledge that the journey had only just begun, and that every step forward required courage as well as endurance. The network's success depended not only on the physical provision of shelter and guidance, but also on the cultivation of trust and discretion. Every ally became a guardian of secrets, a silent participant in a moral enterprise that demanded absolute loyalty and careful judgment. The act of hiding someone fleeing slavery was an intimate engagement, one that required empathy, discernment, and the recognition that the life of another human being could rest in one's hands. Relationships were forged across lines of race, class, and social expectation, creating bonds that transcended ordinary community ties and reinforced the shared purpose of freedom. In these moments of collaboration, the Underground Railroad revealed itself not merely as a logistical operation but as a moral and spiritual network, a living testament to the power of human solidarity in the face of pervasive injustice. Each coded song sung softly in the night, each lantern placed in a darkened window, and each verse recited in quietude carried within it a profound act of resistance, a declaration that the values of empathy, justice, and courage could outweigh fear and oppression. The impact of these allies extended far beyond the immediate safety they provided. They were architects of hope, creating conditions under which the enslaved could envision a life free from chains, and providing the practical and emotional support necessary to pursue that vision. Their actions contributed to the success of countless escapes, enabling individuals to reunite with families, build new lives, and continue the fight against systemic oppression in ways both tangible and symbolic. Without these acts of bravery and ingenuity, the journeys led by figures like Harriet Tubman might have been far fewer, and the collective achievement of the Underground Railroad significantly diminished. The story of these allies is inseparable from the broader narrative of freedom and resistance that defined the Underground Railroad. Their courage underscores the truth that liberation is rarely a solitary endeavor, that the pursuit of justice often relies upon networks of support, collaboration, and mutual trust. By opening their homes and hearts, these men and women transformed ordinary spaces into sanctuaries of hope, turning hidden corners of towns and countryside into beacons of light for those moving through darkness. Their contribution illuminates the extraordinary lengths to which ordinary people will go to protect, guide, and uplift one another when guided by conscience and compassion. And it provides a lasting reminder that acts of bravery, whether recognized or anonymous, can shape the course of history, leaving a legacy of courage and moral clarity that endures far beyond the immediate moment of action. In the end, the collective efforts of these white and black allies, working quietly and often invisibly, wove together a network that defied oppression, enabled escape, and nurtured hope, demonstrating that in the face of systemic injustice, courage and human solidarity can create pathways to freedom that no force can entirely extinguish. The journey toward freedom for those fleeing the chains of slavery was one fraught with danger, uncertainty, and profound physical and emotional hardship, a reality that became vividly clear as they navigated the complex and perilous paths of the Underground Railroad. Night after night, under the protective cloak of darkness, fugitives moved silently through forests, across rivers, and over fields, guided only by the faint glimmer of the North Star or the subtle signs carefully arranged by conductors and allies who understood the terrain and the stakes. Each step was a delicate balance between hope and fear, the relentless pursuit of liberty tempered by the constant threat of capture, violence, or betrayal. Starvation and exhaustion were constant companions, as travelers often had little more than what they could carry, relying on scraps of food left by sympathetic strangers or gleaned from the land to sustain themselves during grueling marches that lasted for hours, sometimes days, in harsh weather and unfamiliar landscapes. The physical challenges of the journey were matched only by the psychological strain of evading bounty hunters and slave catchers. Men and women who hunted for reward and were willing to employ violence, deceit, and intimidation to maintain the system of oppression. The enslaved who attempted to escape had to navigate this reality with extreme caution, cultivating a keen awareness of every sound, movement, and shadow, understanding that one mistake could lead to recapture, punishment, or even death. Yet despite these dangers, the determination to reach freedom propelled them forward, fueled by the promise of autonomy, safety, and the possibility of reuniting with loved ones who had been torn from them by the institution of slavery. In this crucible of fear and aspiration, the human spirit revealed remarkable resilience, as fugitives drew strength not only from their own inner fortitude, but also from the acts of courage displayed by strangers who risked everything to help them along the way. These strangers, the often anonymous conductors and allies of the Underground Railroad, played an indispensable role in the survival and success of those seeking freedom by opening their doors, providing food, shelter, guidance, and sometimes clothing. These individuals created lifelines in an otherwise hostile environment, transforming ordinary homes, barns, and hidden spaces into sanctuaries where hope could be nurtured and fear momentarily abated. Their participation was far from symbolic. It was a tangible demonstration of moral courage, requiring constant vigilance, secrecy, and the ability to respond quickly to threats. Many operated in communities where the law and social norms actively supported slavery, making every act of assistance a potentially life-threatening decision. Yet they persisted, motivated by conscience, empathy, and the belief that justice and humanity demanded action. The journey was also punctuated by moments of profound human connection and shared determination, as fugitives and allies alike discovered that survival often hinged on trust, intuition, and collaboration. Travelers learned to read subtle cues, from a lantern flickering in a window to the arrangement of items on a fence post, signaling safe passage or warning of imminent danger. They relied on coded songs sung softly at night, whispered instructions passed quietly from person to person, and the guidance of those who had traversed the paths before them, including remarkable figures like Harriet Tubman, whose repeated journeys into the South exemplified the extraordinary courage and strategic skill required to lead others to freedom. The network of support was fluid yet resilient, constantly adapting to the changing landscape of risk, demonstrating that liberty was not achieved in isolation but through coordinated acts of bravery and humanity that extended beyond any single individual. Every encounter along the way carried weight and consequence, as betrayal could lurk even where trust seemed evident. Yet it was precisely the willingness of strangers to act selflessly, to shield, guide, and sustain those in flight, that often determined whether a journey ended in freedom or recapture. The Underground Railroad functioned as a living testament to the power of communal action, revealing that ordinary people, motivated by moral conviction, could disrupt a system of oppression, provide tangible paths to liberation, and foster resilience in those who had been systematically dehumanized. Each successful passage northward was a triumph of courage, strategy, and mutual trust, demonstrating that even in the most perilous circumstances, the bonds of human empathy and determination could create pathways to survival and hope. The emotional and spiritual dimensions of the journey were as significant as the physical trials, as fugitives navigated not only the terrain but also the psychological burdens of fear, uncertainty, and grief. The knowledge that family members might remain in bondage, the haunting presence of potential capture, and the relentless strain of travel weighed heavily on those fleeing. Yet the anticipation of freedom provided a sustaining force. Each mile traveled brought them closer to the possibility of a new life, a life in which they could assert their dignity, pursue their own destiny, and embrace the promise of autonomy that had been denied to them for so long. Along the way, the courage of strangers, those who fed, sheltered, and guided them, became inseparable from their own resolve, intertwining acts of human bravery into a narrative of collective perseverance that exemplified the very essence of hope under duress. In reflecting upon the journey of escaping slaves, it becomes clear that the path northward was not simply a physical route, but a profound test of faith, endurance, and moral conviction. The perilous marches, the hunger, the constant threat of capture, and the ever-present risk of betrayal demanded extraordinary resilience. Yet they also revealed the capacity for courage and solidarity in the most difficult circumstances. Each success of the Underground Railroad, every life brought to safety, and every act of selflessness along the way illuminated a simple yet powerful truth: that freedom, though perilous and uncertain, was attainable when guided by courage, strategy, and the unwavering support of those willing to act with humanity in the face of oppression, creating a legacy of hope and resilience that continues to inspire generations. Amid the darkness of night and the perils of a relentless journey toward freedom, enslaved individuals found in music a source of guidance, courage, and spiritual sustenance that transcended the physical hardships they endured. Spirituals such as "Follow the Drinking Gourd" were far more than songs. They were intricate codes woven into melodies, carrying directions and warnings to those seeking liberation, transforming the simple act of singing into an act of defiance and hope. Each note, each phrase, held hidden meaning, pointing toward the North Star and the promise of safety in the free states to the north, serving as a celestial map that guided weary travelers across forests, rivers, and fields with a silent certainty that only those attuned to its secret could fully comprehend. For fugitives navigating the treacherous and often unpredictable routes of the Underground Railroad, these songs provided reassurance that their journey, though perilous, was possible, and that guidance and solidarity existed even in the shadows. The power of these spirituals extended beyond navigation, touching the deepest layers of the human spirit. As travelers moved under the cover of night, haunted by the ever-present threats of slave catchers and bounty hunters, the songs offered a steady rhythm for their footsteps, a shared heartbeat that reminded them they were not alone, and that hope could persist even in the bleakest circumstances. In hidden attics, barns, and forest clearings, the quiet hum of these melodies intertwined with whispered instructions and coded lantern signals, creating a symphony of resistance that reinforced both the physical and emotional resilience required to endure the journey. Singing became a ritual of courage, a means of maintaining psychological equilibrium, and a subtle assertion of autonomy in a world that sought to deny their humanity. Faith, closely interwoven with these spirituals, provided an additional layer of sustenance for those fleeing slavery. Belief in a higher power, coupled with the conviction that freedom was both morally right and divinely sanctioned, offered strength when exhaustion, hunger, and fear threatened to overwhelm them. The spirituals were imbued with this faith, reflecting a deep trust that each step taken toward liberation was part of a greater plan, and that perseverance and courage would ultimately be rewarded. In this context, music became a bridge between the visible and invisible worlds, linking the physical act of escape with the spiritual conviction that justice and freedom were attainable, reinforcing the travelers' determination and sense of purpose even as they confronted the unpredictability of the night. The creative use of spirituals also demonstrated the intelligence and ingenuity of those navigating the Underground Railroad. By embedding coded messages within lyrics that appeared harmless to outsiders, enslaved individuals could communicate vital information about timing, direction, and safety without alerting those who sought to capture them. This subtle form of communication required a sophisticated understanding of language, rhythm, and human psychology, as well as an acute awareness of the surrounding environment. The songs functioned as living maps, adaptable and flexible, allowing each traveler to interpret the guidance according to their own journey, and creating a dynamic system of navigation that relied on both communal knowledge and individual discernment. In this way, music became a tool of survival, resistance, and empowerment, transforming cultural expression into practical and strategic advantage. Moreover, the spirituals reinforced a sense of community and shared identity among those fleeing slavery. The melodies carried stories, lessons, and encouragement, creating an invisible thread of solidarity that connected individuals across miles and obstacles. Even in moments of solitude, the knowledge that others had sung, followed, and survived these paths imbued travelers with courage and a sense of belonging, as if the collective spirit of countless people who had endured similar hardships was guiding them forward. This psychological support was as essential to survival as food, water, and shelter, fortifying resolve and sustaining hope in the face of daunting adversity. The songs reminded travelers that freedom was not just a destination but a shared aspiration, a moral imperative, and a testament to human resilience. The enduring legacy of spirituals like Follow the Drinking God illustrates the profound intersection of culture, faith, and resistance in the struggle for liberation. They were more than tools for escape. They were symbols of hope, expressions of creativity, and embodiments of an unbreakable spirit that refused to succumb to oppression. In every whispered note, every carefully sung line beneath the cover of darkness, the spirituals carried a message that freedom was possible, that courage could overcome fear, and that even in the most oppressive circumstances, the human spirit could remain unbroken. Through these melodies, the enslaved asserted their humanity, communicated their resilience, and forged connections that transcended physical boundaries, creating a legacy of ingenuity and moral strength that continues to resonate through history. The journey along the Underground Railroad, guided by spirituals, faith, and the unwavering pursuit of freedom, was not merely a physical passage from one place to another, but a profound testament to the endurance of hope and the power of belief. As travelers moved through forests and across rivers, their steps synchronized with the rhythms of songs that carried both practical guidance and emotional sustenance, revealing a sophisticated system of resistance built on courage, creativity, and communal solidarity. These melodies, born of suffering yet overflowing with determination, stand as enduring reminders that in the pursuit of liberty, human ingenuity and faith can transform even the darkest circumstances into a path toward light, freedom, and the affirmation of dignity that slavery sought to deny. The extraordinary efforts of the Underground Railroad did more than just guide enslaved individuals to freedom. They cast a glaring light on the profound moral contradictions at the heart of a nation that proclaimed liberty while systematically denying it to millions. Each successful escape, each safe house, and each act of courage by conductors and allies revealed the dissonance between the ideals of freedom and equality enshrined in the nation's founding principles and the harsh realities of slavery that underpinned its social and economic structures. This contrast became increasingly difficult to ignore as stories of daring rescues, repeated journeys into the South, and the perseverance of those fleeing bondage spread through northern communities, stirring conscience and calling into question the legitimacy of a society that claimed justice while perpetuating oppression. The Underground Railroad, in its quiet and clandestine operations, became a living testament to resistance, a moral indictment of slavery itself, and a force that shaped public opinion in ways that reverberated far beyond the homes and forests where its activities unfolded. As the nation teetered on the brink of conflict, the work of the Underground Railroad provided a foundation for a broader reckoning with the question of slavery. The courage and strategic acumen displayed by conductors, former fugitives, and allies demonstrated not only the possibility of escape but also the potential for organized, collective action to challenge entrenched systems of injustice. Figures like Harriet Tubman, whose repeated ventures into the South saved dozens of lives, and countless unnamed allies who risked everything to provide shelter, guidance, and sustenance, exemplified a form of moral leadership that transcended legal authority and societal expectation. Their actions illuminated the human cost of slavery, the lengths to which individuals would go to secure freedom, and the undeniable truth that liberty could not coexist with bondage. Through these acts, the Underground Railroad became a potent symbol of ethical resistance, showing that the pursuit of justice often required personal sacrifice, strategic thinking, and unwavering determination in the face of danger. When the Civil War erupted, the principles and experiences cultivated through the Underground Railroad found new expression in the broader struggle to end slavery once and for all. Many former conductors, fugitives, and allies, motivated by their intimate understanding of the stakes and the injustice at hand, joined the Union cause, bringing with them not only their courage and resilience but also invaluable knowledge of terrain, logistics, and human networks that could be leveraged in the conflict. Their participation highlighted the interconnectedness of resistance and formal warfare, illustrating how the moral and practical strategies developed in secret over decades could inform and influence military action on a larger scale. These individuals became living embodiments of the struggle for freedom, their personal histories intertwined with the larger narrative of a nation at war with itself over the fundamental question of human liberty. The integration of former fugitives and conductors into the Union cause also underscores the transformative impact of the Underground Railroad on American society. It was not merely a system of escape routes and safe houses, but a training ground for leadership, strategic thinking, and collective action. Those who had risked everything to navigate the network had developed skills in observation, coordination, and problem-solving under extreme pressure, which proved critical in military campaigns and efforts to undermine the Confederacy. Moreover, the direct experience of slavery imbued their participation with moral authority and urgency, as they fought not for abstract principles, but for the tangible realization of freedom for themselves and countless others who remained in bondage. The stories of their courage and contributions became woven into the broader narrative of the Union's struggle, illustrating the profound ways in which individual and collective acts of resistance could influence the course of national events. The moral and symbolic significance of the Underground Railroad extended beyond its immediate impact on the war effort, shaping public consciousness and the historical record in enduring ways. It revealed the deep ethical contradictions inherent in a society that espoused freedom while condoning slavery, challenged citizens to confront their own complicity or indifference, and provided a model of how organized, principled action could effect meaningful change. The narratives of escape and assistance offered a compelling testament to the power of individual and collective courage, highlighting the human capacity to resist oppression and affirm dignity even in the most dangerous circumstances. As former conductors and freed individuals joined the Union effort, they carried with them not only knowledge and skill, but also the moral clarity that had guided their clandestine work for years, reinforcing the ethical imperatives at the heart of the struggle to abolish slavery. Ultimately, the Underground Railroad served as both a practical and symbolic precursor to the broader conflict of the Civil War, demonstrating that freedom and justice required more than passive hope. They demanded active resistance, strategic planning, and personal sacrifice. The network exposed the fragile moral foundations of a nation divided by slavery, provided a proving ground for courageous individuals whose skills and experience would later inform the fight for national emancipation, and created a lasting legacy of ethical leadership and human solidarity. Through its secretive operations, the Underground Railroad transformed despair into hope, fear into action, and moral conviction into tangible outcomes, revealing that even in the darkest chapters of history, the determined pursuit of liberty can illuminate a path forward. influence the course of a nation, and leave an enduring mark on the collective conscience. It is a story of courage, strategy, and moral fortitude, demonstrating that the efforts of a few brave individuals, united by purpose and guided by principle, can shape the destiny of many and redefine the meaning of freedom itself. The story of the Underground Railroad is one of profound courage, unwavering determination, and extraordinary moral clarity, a chapter of history that continues to resonate because it demonstrates the incredible power of ordinary individuals to confront injustice and effect meaningful change. Across the dark nights and hidden trails of 19th century America, enslaved men, women, and children faced unimaginable hardships, yet they pressed forward, driven by hope, resilience, and an unyielding belief in their right to freedom. Each step they took was fraught with danger, from navigating treacherous landscapes to evading slave catchers, bounty hunters, and the ever-present threat of betrayal, but they were never entirely alone. Allies, both black and white, risked everything to provide shelter, guidance, and sustenance, transforming ordinary homes, barns, and attics into sanctuaries of hope. These brave men and women, often unknown and uncelebrated in mainstream history, collectively formed a network of courage and compassion that helped redefine the moral landscape of the nation. Figures like Harriet Tubman embody the extraordinary spirit of this movement. Yet her story is inseparable from the countless unnamed heroes who made the Underground Railroad possible. Tubman's repeated journeys into the South to guide over 70 enslaved people to freedom reflect not only her personal courage, but also a larger truth: that one determined individual, supported by a network of committed allies, can spark change far beyond what seems possible. Every coded song, every lantern in a window, every hidden attic, and every whispered instruction was a testament to human ingenuity, moral courage, and the unwavering belief that freedom was worth every risk. Through these acts, the Underground Railroad became more than a system of escape. It became a living symbol of resistance, hope, and the enduring pursuit of justice. The network also exposed the moral contradictions at the heart of a nation that professed liberty while perpetuating slavery, challenging citizens in both the North and the South to confront the ethical failings of their society. It revealed the stark difference between the ideals enshrined in law and the lived reality of millions, creating a moral imperative that helped fuel the abolitionist movement and ultimately shaped the course of the Civil War. Former conductors and fugitives themselves became active participants in the struggle to abolish slavery, joining the Union cause with first-hand knowledge of both the human cost of bondage and the strategies required to resist oppression. Their experiences, born out of necessity, courage, and moral conviction, informed larger efforts to dismantle slavery and contributed to a lasting legacy of ethical leadership and action. Perhaps the most enduring lesson of the Underground Railroad is that moral bravery does not require fame or wealth. It requires empathy, conscience, and a willingness to act in the face of danger. Ordinary people, when guided by principle and compassion, have the power to alter history. The countless unnamed allies who risked their lives to shelter fugitives, the travelers who pressed forward through darkness and fear, and leaders like Tubman who guided them with skill and resolve, collectively demonstrate that courage is contagious, that moral conviction can ripple outward to transform societies, and that acts of resistance, no matter how small, can leave an indelible mark on the world. The significance of these lessons extends far beyond the historical moment in which they occurred. The Underground Railroad teaches us that injustice is never insurmountable when met with determination, strategic thinking, and collective action, and that freedom is preserved not merely through law, but through the courage and empathy of those willing to uphold it. It reminds us that ordinary individuals can be extraordinary when their actions are aligned with justice and humanity, and that even in the darkest circumstances, the light of hope, courage, and moral clarity can guide others toward liberation. The network's legacy is not only a celebration of the resilience of the human spirit, but also a call to action for every generation, to stand against injustice, to protect those in need, and to act with courage when history demands it. As we reflect on the journey of the Underground Railroad, from hidden attics and secret routes to the courage of conductors and fugitives, we recognize a story that transcends time, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and conviction. It is a reminder that the fight for justice is ongoing, that the principles of empathy, courage, and moral bravery remain as relevant today as they were 2 centuries ago, and that each of us holds the capacity to make a difference in the world. The lessons of the Underground Railroad inspire us to act with integrity, to defend freedom wherever it is threatened, and to honor the sacrifices of those who came before us by living lives guided by conscience and courage. Thank you so much for watching and taking the time to remember the hidden heroes of the Underground Railroad. Their stories remind us of the power each person has to create change, and by learning from their bravery, we can carry forward their legacy in our own lives. If you found this story inspiring, please give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel for more stories of courage and resilience, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an opportunity to explore history's remarkable lessons. Together, we can keep the spirit of compassion, courage, and conviction alive, honoring those who risked everything to change the course of history and inspiring new generations to do the same.